Okay, so we've spent a lot of time talking about Amanita, and we could probably talk about Amanita all fucking day long, and we're going to continue to thump that drum the rest of our lives, I can
Yeah.
imagine. But
Yeah.
we sell some other interesting stuff as well, too, and the thing that I love about us and our company is that we have, first of all of the products are truly quality, but we also have this tendency to take some of these things and put them into fun, actually efficacious, affordable consumer products. And I guess like right at the top of my mind, what I'm thinking about right there is like Blue Lotus extract gummies. Tell me who the fuck else is doing that actually correctly, who you can really trust. I know it sounds a bit like a salesman thing I'm doing, but it's true, man.
Yeah.
It's really true, And yeah, there's a lot of these other plants out there that are really interesting and have all their own nuances to them. And I think one of definitely my second favorite thing that we sell, and my second favorite thing that I interact with regularly myself, is Blue Lotus.
Mm.
Blue Lotus is interesting for a lot of reasons. It's got like deep historical significance. It has really interesting alkaloids within it with interesting receptor site activity. But similar to Amanita, there's a bit of this game that we play with it where there's limited um, solidified scientific data on something like
Yeah.
Blue Lotus, right? And
Yeah.
so a lot of it is we're referring to our own anecdotal experiences with it and the compilation of other anecdotal experiences that we've compiled over several years now. um, but yeah, man, tell people like about Blue Lotus and what you like about it.
Blue Lotus is magic.
It
Yeah,
really
I mean
is.
it's the most revered plant medicine in Egyptian mythology and in ancient Egypt. Depicted in hieroglyphs throughout pyramids and tombs. They would use it for rituals, for deep meditation, for transcendental experiences. One of the really interesting things that I found with Blue Lotus in particular is it seems to be energetic more so than physiological. And what I mean by that is if one is in tune, if one can feel energy and feel kind of these more etheric states of consciousness, it seems to have a much more pronounced effect on them.
That's interesting that you say that about Blue Lotus, because one aspect of Blue Lotus that I've told other people, and that I think I've told you before, is that say I were to take 3 grams right now of some Blue Lotus extract, I think I would feel that slightly. There would be, and like you're describing, it's like this energetic effect. But I've noticed that when I combine Blue Lotus, it seems to be a very special synergistic tool. And when I
Mm-hmm.
combine it with certain things like meditation, cannabis, and serotonergic psychedelics,
Oh,
it seems to amp both simultaneously. The Blue Lotus is amplifying the psychedelics, and the psychedelics
yeah,
are amplifying the Blue Lotus. And it would make sense as to what you're saying here of this sort of energetic thing that's going on, transmutation.
yeah,
And because these states, cannabis, psychedelics, I feel like they have the potential. A lot of times they put you into a state where you're more sensitive to those energetic sort of like changes, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, one of the best ways that I've heard it described is that it adds a completely different texture to certain experiences, particularly with things like psilocybin, LSD, tryptamines.
What is that texture like?
It's hard to put into words, but
Yeah.
there's an empathogenic quality to it, and this is one of the reasons that I find Blue Lotus so special on its own or with anything else is its heart opening capabilities, its
Mm-hmm.
empathogenic qualities.
Yeah.
It seems to be a very heart focused, heart and throat focused medicine, for lack of a better word. Um, yeah, it also has this like subtle yet pleasant body sensation to it that's unlike anything else out there once one finds the dose that works for them. Similarly to Amanita, it has relaxing qualities. There's intense dream enhancement with Blue Lotus. Some people find it really powerful being used as an aphrodisiac. But even though there's similarities, it's really its own thing. The experience is completely unique, but it's a really powerful tool as well. Blue Lotus was the second product that I started carrying. It was just because I've used it a lot throughout my life. Yeah, it's a really special plant.
Yeah. Yeah. And like with Blue Lotus, it feels like to me the it has a similar I think, benefit with the whole vein of like different type of microdose, right? Because it does seem to lend itself to the mindful, somewhat everyday use of it does seem
Mm-hmm.
to have an accumulative effect as well. Um, yeah, and so like and Blue Lotus seems to hold this kind of like own unique microdosing potential as well. um,
Yeah,
for what I was gonna say.
I've found, and what we've found, and I would love some more data on this. So if you want to try this, give it a shot and shoot us an email and let us know how this works for you. But what I found, I actually heard this from a customer in the early days, that they, and I'd never even thought about microdosing Blue Lotus consistently like one does Amanita, but a customer reached out and said that they took, a few hundred milligrams of Blue Lotus 3 times a day consistently for a couple weeks, and by the end of it, their heart was blasted wide open. And so I replicated this, and this is actually what started us what got us to start doing the gummies. Was we wanted an easy method for people to microdose consistently. And yeah, I've noticed an intense heart opening with it when I use it for extended periods of time, and we found this is relatively consistent with the customer base as well. So if you're interested in potentially opening the heart and want to give it a shot with the Blue Lotus gummies, yeah, give it a whirl. And you take it just like Amanita, where you take 1 to 2 gummies 2 to 3 times a day consistently for a few weeks at a time. Yeah, let us know how it works for you.
Yeah, yeah, and in what you're describing there, the Blue Lotus gummies, they're made with our Blue Lotus extract, and they have a few hundred milligrams of Blue Lotus extract each, and so that's kind of like the rough dosage thing that we're recommending. But once again, it's not perfect. Kind of find what works for you. But this is another interesting aspect of Blue Lotus that I think I'd like to talk about here is the fact that we do offer this extract, and also that we offer this extract within gummies, and because um, I think a lot of people within this space have maybe heard of Blue Lotus before. A lot of people have even tried it. Not everyone finds it efficacious for them. And now this
Yeah,
happens with all these plant medicines.
yeah.
Some like there's a certain subset of the population that have absolutely tried it and don't really find much benefit from Amanita. That absolutely happens. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with all these things, and Blue Lotus included. But I get this feeling, and this is a bit of a projection because this is the path that I went on, but I get this feeling that a large amount of people who say that Blue Lotus isn't efficacious for them haven't tried a large enough dose.
Yeah,
And I say this
yeah.
because I tried Blue Lotus several times over the course of several years, and it was always in its whole flower form. I had tried making teas. I had tried infusing it with liquor, like a very large dose of liquor one time, like a large dose of Blue Lotus leaves. I'd soaked in some liquor for a very long time. And I had also tried, smoking it. And I never found it super efficacious. There was one time when I smoked a lot of it with some cannabis, and
Mm.
I kind of maybe
That's
felt it.
synergy again.
Yeah, but it wasn't until I tried our extract for the first time, and it was like a few grams, like 2 to 3 grams, something
Yeah.
like that total, of the gummies. And I had this very, very, tactile, like it was there. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't super subtle. It was a very empathogenic feel,
Yeah.
very lovey dovey. And also, interestingly enough, that empathogenic feel, the lovey dovey feel, was matched with insightful thoughts, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I personally, like, I'm similar. I need a few grams of the extract to really start feeling it. In the beginning days, I was taking 6, 7, 8 grams of the extract to really get the full experience. That seems to have changed. I don't know if it's a reverse tolerance, or I'm more understanding of the experience. Maybe I've gotten more in tune with myself and with my energy field, so I can feel it a little bit more. But yeah, just similarly with anything, like, generally dose is the culprit if one can't feel it. And if you're looking to really experience it, just up the dose a little bit. Blue Lotus seems to be extremely well tolerated and safe in these high doses. So, obviously still always start slow and work your way up. But yeah, I mean, I've gone up to 10 grams and been just fine. So it also seems to have a diminishing return where, like, once I get to this space, a little bit more doesn't make it a little bit more. It's kind of plateaus at a certain space with me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I found that for me is like over 5 grams ish.
Yeah.
Usually it's not, and that's not perfect, but like somewhere over 5 grams. A lot of people refer to, and I guess I can kind of like get behind this. I've experienced this, Blue Lotus is an aphrodisiac.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've
Oh
heard of
yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yep.
And what was your experience like that? Like,
Yeah, I mean it's wonderful. It's empathogenic, you know, so it opens the
Yeah.
heart, and yeah, it makes for, yeah, it's very lovey.
Very lovey
Yeah,
dovey.
yeah.